Yo, tell me that background ain't fire for the Cheap Seats logo.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Welcome back to the Cheap Seats podcast. I got the core four here tonight. I'm Wire to Wire Gene coming at you. I like my fresh haircut too. I'm looking good. But I'm Wire to Wire Gene. To my left, I got the Prince of Production of Sports Empire Network, Kyle Edwards. How you feeling today, Kyle?
I'm feeling good, feeling good. I mean, I don't have a fresh cut to show off, so got to rock the hat, but I'm ready to get into these topics. Good to be with you
I
again.
feel like the picture of you comes with the hat. Like, I like the hat, right? Like, I feel like you ever see Kyle from South Park without the hat? You can't. You gotta want to see that red hair.
Yeah,
I like the hat. I feel like Kyle's picture comes with the hat.
Yeah, I'll adopt the hat.
Kyle were to make like a logo, like I could imagine it just being his face with a hat on. Like,
right?
I'll take it.
That'll work.
All right. Directly below him, I got last night's champion. In the new show, Prove Me Wrong, that Chris came up with, which is a genius idea. Mo money, mo problems, mo better. What's popping, Mo?
Gene, guys, great to be here, ready to go.
And directly below me, my man Dylan Reed, Seahawks fan, Hawks fan. He just likes things that say Hawks at them. Like Seahawks, Atlanta Hawks. My man knows sports, and he is one of the best debaters that we have on the show. Dylan Reed. What's popping, Dylan?
What's good? What's good, everybody? I'm excited for a good show tonight. I like these questions that we have lined up as well. I'm excited.
I feel the same way. Like, I'm fired up about them. Like, I've seen them. I've seen the list. I've seen the order. But we got to start with something that is going to piss me off. I'm going to be honest with you. There's never, ever, ever a time. Go ahead, Dylan. Before I don't want to prelude. Dylan, read your question now, please.
So basically, it's the big NFL news that we have. You know, the running backs have been coming out very upset about their contract situations and how they're being valued. Jonathan Taylor came out this week asking for a trade. It seems like his contract situations have stalled, which makes sense in this current stature of the running back market. Jim Irsay was very vocal, not in a good way, basically saying, you know, if I died tomorrow and Jonathan Taylor was off the team, nobody would care. Like, things would move on. And that's just not what you say to someone who, you know, is a franchise player. So I guess my question is, what does Jonathan Taylor asking for a trade, what will it do anything for this running back market? Will it do anything at all? Or will Jonathan Taylor just stay on the team and that be it? And then I asked this question, you know, before Irsay said anything wild, or I saw Irsay saying anything. So what do his comments just mean, just overall? I know it's not anything good, but like, what do you think it means to this running back market? And we'll start from top to bottom. So we'll go Kyle down.
So I think for me, it just shows once again the incompetence of Jim Irsay. It's like, I get it, you know, what he's saying. You know, if Jonathan Taylor wasn't in the league, of course the league would continue. But he's a guy that's so important to your team, you feel like you would want to make him feel like he should stay. And, you know, I think what Jonathan Taylor came out and said, he kind of put in a trade request. I mean, of course, Irsay was like, oh, we have no plans of trading him.
Yeah.
So now it's just like, is he going to force Jonathan Taylor to like sit out a year if Jonathan Taylor's like really legitimately just does not want to be in Indy? And then in case of the whole running back market, it's not a good thing because, you know, Taylor's one of those guys who's very productive when he's healthy. In another year without him, let's say the Colts miraculously have some, I guess, above average season compared to what people are predicting. It's like, it just makes the running backs look worse. But if I was Jonathan Taylor or any running back, based off of Irsay and how he's been kind of running this team in the past couple of years, I don't see any need why a veteran would ever want to go there, no matter like what kind of money he's throwing at you. Because it's not just what he says, it's stuff he does, you know, off the field. I mean, Jonathan Taylor met with him, and then from that, he was like, I got to go. Who knows what happened in that meeting? And we've seen with Irsay, when he has meetings, doesn't necessarily go well. He's not necessarily the most professional. So I'm with Jonathan Taylor. Like, if he wants out, I don't blame him at all.
Well, Kyle, let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
You know about the Josh McDaniels situation, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of alluding, like, the fact that he had the meeting and the only thing he came out of the meeting was like, yeah, you got to trade me. It was probably something along the lines of what happened with McDaniels. And until it probably will take a couple more players to kind of like stand up to him before people really start paying attention to how bad of an owner or how much the league probably just does not need Jim Irsay, to be honest with you.
Well, the NFL owners have already proven the fact that they have to basically be the worst person on the planet to get thrown out of their position.
Yeah.
Daniel Snyder has been doing things that should have thrown him in jail for the last 10 years, and they finally asked him to sell the team, and he made like $4 billion profit selling it. So what ended up happening there?
Right.
All right, so let's break down the death quotes first. Dylan, do you have the exact quote?
Yeah, that's basically I'm not sure if it's word for word, but I'm like 1,000% sure that's word for word. So basically, I can re-say it again if you want me to.
Yeah, if you just recite it, please.
Yeah. So basically said, if I died tomorrow and Jonathan Taylor was out of the league, basically nothing would happen. Nothing. The league moves on. Like for one player to one player after we agreed on something, which would be the CBA, and for one player to go back on that and try to change it for one whole position would be just stupid. Is basically what he said.
I don't read it that way, and I think Jonathan Taylor didn't read it that way. When I hear those quotes, if I died tomorrow and Jonathan Taylor wasn't here, it wouldn't matter. I disagree. I think the NFL Players Association is really working towards the NBA's way of seeing things, being able to take care of their players, and they mean more to the sport. You know what the NFL wanted to do last year with Damar Hamlin? Get him on a stretcher, get him off the field, and let's continue the football game. And the players and the coaches made that decision that we weren't doing that. So if Jonathan Taylor was one of the faces of the league, a top 5 running back in the league, Damar Hamlin is a fringe safety. Not saying anything bad about him, but he's a player in the NFL, and they didn't care. He's a teammate. Oh, if Jonathan Taylor wasn't here anymore, then it wouldn't matter. You're just a guy that works for me, that runs the football. That's all you are. He treats them like they're pawns on his chessboard, and then he goes out of his way to say things like, well, no one treats players better than the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think that Andrew Luck would agree with those comments. You're talking about a guy a generational talent that retired early because they couldn't protect him because he was worried about his health. Mm-hmm. I don't think Frank Wright would agree with that. I don't think a lot of people would now. I don't think a lot of people would agree with that. I think Jim Irsay is an awful person. He's not the only awful person that owns a franchise in the NFL. Dan Snyder was one of them. I say it every week. Anytime I get a chance to take a shot at Jerry Jones, I'll take a shot at Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones just said some weird comments about Zach Martin recently. My favorite owner in the world, Stephen Ross in Miami, that absolute piece of trash. Jim Irsay's right up there with him. He's an awful person, and he says a lot of really stupid things. And if I was Chris Ballard, who in my opinion is one of the best GMs in football, I would want out of there. I would be like, man, you're not letting me do my job. Let me do my job. Mm-hmm. Sit up there, earn your money, take your Percocets, drink your alcohol, get your DUIs, and stay the hell out of our business. Jim Irsay is an awful person. And how it affects the running back market, it doesn't. Because I really believe that owners have devalued the position, GMs have devalued the position because they know they can get the best bang for their buck in the first 4 to 5 years, and they got him on that rookie deal. And I feel bad for guys coming in the league like Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think you're going to see a trend of that. Running backs drafted higher and being more valued in the draft so they can get the best 4 or 5 years out of them because they're going to run those guys into the ground. Did you watch the Detroit Lions, the way they celebrated about getting Jahmyr Gibbs, who was looked at as a second-round draft pick at 12 overall? Because we're going to run him into the ground.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson's going to carry the ball 20 times and get 7 targets a game for a bad Atlanta team that's not going to win anything. Running backs are in a bad spot. Gentlemen, running backs are in a bad spot. I don't think it changes the scope of the running back room. I don't think it changes their contracts. And, I just not a fan of Jim Irsay, and I will actively add the Indianapolis Colts to teams I root against with the Miami Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys. They're just teams I just 100% root against.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with everything that's said. No, Jim Irsay saying what he said is garbage. As a free agent or a draftee, I wouldn't want to go to somebody like that. I know at the end of the day, some players won't care. They just want their money. That's all they want. People will play for people like that because they don't care. But me, if I was a free agent or anything like that, I wouldn't want to play for an owner that doesn't value me. I mean, look, if he's just saying that about the running back position because of what the market is, imagine what he feels about all of his other players that play there. I mean, like Gene said, he treats them like pawns. These are just players out here who, get me more money every year. And that's basically how he treats them. He doesn't care about their wants or feelings. He cares about what they bring in for him. And it's sad, there's some really good owners out there, and there's some great ownerships that just care for their players and care for the teams and care for the fan bases. And there's some who just don't. And it's sad. It sucks for Jonathan Taylor as well. Like Kyle said, he went into a meeting and came out basically saying he wanted a trade. So there is something that was said that didn't sit well with him. And I imagine it was something like anything like those comments, just basically devaluing him more and more and more. And that's not good. I hate that Jim Irsay came out and said he's not going to trade him. Like, why not? Let someone else value him. Get whatever picks, whatever value back from him, and let him play football. Like, he's an amazing talent. Don't just waste years off of his life because you're not going to pay him. You're going to make him feel devalued. It's garbage. It sucks for running backs because, they've all been very vocal on just different social medias being like, this sucks, and just different things saying like we should be valued more for the work that we put in. And it sucks that probably nothing's going to come out of it. It's not fair to them. But that's how the league is. I hope there is some sort of way, the NFL Players Association can, do some sort of bargaining agreement to make it different for them, a threshold, a cap or something. But, that takes time. Owners aren't going to agree upon that.
I think we're talking about two different things, though, Dylan. If Chris Ballard would have came out and said, we're not trading Jonathan Taylor, he's our running back, and we love him, and we want to keep him here, and I don't think anybody would be on the side of Jonathan Taylor. Maybe some people, but it's not about what he said. It's how he said it and the way and manner in which he said it. I don't disagree with GMs not paying running backs. I don't. You don't have to. Run him into the ground and then draft another one. That's the position right now, guys. And also, I feel like Jonathan Taylor needs a better team around him of intelligent people because he made a vital mistake. He didn't want to play for the contract that he was on, so he said he came in with a back injury. So the Colts have already are threatening to put him on the non-football injury list.
Yes.
So they don't have to pay him at all. So it's not about what they're saying. It's how he's saying it and who's saying it. I want to hear that from Chris Ballard, and I want to hear Chris Ballard say it with the sense of Jonathan Taylor's our guy. We definitely want to take care of him in the future. At this point right now, we're not in a position to extend a running back that has 2 years left on his contract, blah, 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 blah.
Why hasn't he, though?
Because Jim Irsay's in control. And that's the problem with having a meddling. Let me ask you a question, Dylan. Who's the GM for the Dallas Cowboys?
Fair enough.
And that's my point, right? Like, Chris Ballard because he does a great job, but these owners, when they want to get involved, they get involved. I watched Jeffrey Lurie get involved in situations in Philadelphia that he should have just kept his nose out of. And I love Jeffrey Lurie, good owner. When these owners want to get involved, they get involved. They're too empowered. And in the NBA, that doesn't happen, right? You don't see owners meddling in to GM situations. You want to
Right.
fire your GM and hire another GM? That's fine. But I don't want you involved in the situations and the day-to-day. That's why you hire a general manager. Sorry about that. My fault, Mo.
No, I mean, everything you're saying, everything Dylan was saying, spot on. Look, Jim Irsay is a jerk, flat out. He's a jerk. And he's not the adult in any room. I feel like he's the kind of guy that if he could get away with it, he would put a kick me a stamp behind a player's back and laugh and think that was funny. I just think that's where his petty is and his lack of maturity is. Jonathan Taylor has every right to feel how he feels, but if he's got representation, if he's got an agent, his agent has got to tell him the reality is you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. They have all the power. And when you hear Irsay talk, it's you can say whatever you want, but you're my employee. Matter of fact, the way he said it, it sounded more like you're my property. I'm not going to move you no matter what. I'm not trading him. I'm not doing nothing.
Exactly.
I'd rather put him on the non-football injury list and not pay him, but still keep him because I can do that. I've got that kind of power. So to me, it's another way to demean him, not just a position, but to demean him. But there's nothing running backs can do. Not as a unit, they can do nothing. They've got to rely on their union to make that change. But other than that, they're stuck playing where they're playing. I understand what Dylan said. Hey, let him go somewhere else where they value him. You got to realize, you know Irsay's a jerk. He will keep him just for spite. Just for spite. Even if he could get back a haul for him, I think he still would keep him just to prove he's in control, he's the man. And that's just a sad state of football when you look at how the owners treat players.
You're spot on, Mo. Spot on. Let me read Bino's comments. Jonathan Taylor needs to understand the business side of it, though. What he has done, what has he done to deserve to be paid? One season shouldn't get you paid. I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying that Jonathan Taylor's one season should get him paid or not. What I disagree with is the way the owner of the team is handling the situation. Like I said, I'm not on the opposite side of paying running backs or not paying running backs. I get both sides of that. Mm-hmm. I just don't like the message and how it comes across. Mo said it perfectly. You're my property. That's the way he's talking about him. Guys, it's a very crappy subject. Let's move on to a more fun topic. I love this topic. As soon as I seen this graphic, I wanted to share it with you guys. So we're going to build a lineup for $15. This is what this show is about. This is what the barbershop talk is about. The cheap seats talk is about. What lineup would you put together? And then we'll have the fans pick which one of our four lineups is the best overall. But you get $15, and I'm a mathematician, so I'm going to call you out on your $15. But I'm not going to go first. And we're going to start from the bottom. My man, Mo Money, Mo Problems, Mo Better. Give me a lineup, my friend.
So I'm going to go Dan Marino for my quarterback.
Okay. $1.
I'll go Walter Payton for my running back.
$4.
I'll go Jerry Rice for my wide receiver.
Now we're at $9.
I'm going to go DeAndre Hopkins for my other wide receiver.
Okay, now we're so you're killing me right now. You're killing me. Go ahead.
In tight end, I'm going to go with I think I got enough. I'm going to go with Gonzalez.
You know, Tony G. So you have almost the exact same lineup as I'm going to go with. And it's no surprise. You just stole my entire thunder and where I was going. I love it. Great lineup as a whole. I love the value you got in each player. We'll go over it more and more as we go. But you killed me right there. You just killed me. Dylan, your turn, brother.
Okay, so I'm going to go Joe Montana for 4.
Okay, got it.
I'm going to go LT for 1.
$5.
I'm going to go Randy Moss for 4.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go I'm going to go Julio Jones for 3. And then I got to get what my boy.
So wait, you're at 7 plus 4. Oh, sorry, you're at Dean Thompson. You're 5 plus 4 is 9 plus 3 is 12. So you have $3 to spend.
And I'm going to go Antonio Gates.
Okay.
Tight end.
It's the incorrect lineup, and that's okay. I'll explain to you why it's incorrect, Mr. Grasshopper, sir.
Hey, man.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm going with players I like.
I love Danny Dempsey's lineup. Hold on, let me post this on the screen. It's not my lineup, but I love it. It's a very good lineup. Kyle, you are on the clock.
All right. I mean, hopefully you like my lineup, but I also went Montana with 4, which it was tough not picking Brady, but I went Montana to save $1.
$4, saved $1. I see you.
I went with LT as well as my running back.
$5.
I had T.O.
Okay. Now we're at 8.
Got Julio.
Now we're at 11. So you got Gronk.
Gronk is my tight end.
See, let me explain to you the thinking behind this, right? There is a gap, a huge gap at one of the positions. Huge gap. And it's between $3 and $4 on the tight end position. Love me saying Antonio Gates, but you need Gronk or Tony G. You need them because it's like playing fantasy football, right? Any of you guys out there play fantasy football? Why is it so important? Why is the guy that has Travis Kelce always win the damn league? Because there's no other tight, like he's got a positional advantage over everybody else on the field. There's a gap value-wise. I'm gonna start with the gap value-wise. I got Gronk. I'm going backwards here. I got Gronk. $4. Dan Marino at $1 is a steal. I think he's better than Drew Brees at $2. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't know what Dan doesn't do as good as Montana. I don't. Montana, you know what Montana did better than Dan? Play on a better team and win Super Bowls. But let's not pretend if we didn't put Dan on that team would not win Super Bowls. Dan Marino was incredible. He could throw a ball through a tire 30 yards down the field. Cannon for an arm, just never had the team around him. So give me Dan for $1, Gronk for $4. So I'm sitting at $5. I got $10 for my meat and potatoes. $10. Now, when you look at the running backs, you got to just say to yourself, yeah, I'd rather have Barry. But I'm not. Walter Payton and Barry are like cutting cheese. You're slicing them up. It's okay. Which one do you want? Give me Walter Payton. I'll save $2. I can use it in the wide receiver room. So I'm sitting at $8. I got $7 to play with some wide receivers. Who do I go with here? Well, I could do a lot of things, right? I would love to go with Jerry Rice here. Jerry Rice is the greatest receiver ever to play the game. But what happens when you go with Jerry Rice is you either go under the money, which you can. Like I could do Jerry Rice and DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm not I think Chris Carter and Don Hudson are the worst 2 receivers on this list. And I'm not adding Antonio Brown to this team to ruin the team. CTE Brown, I can't do it. So if I have $7 to play with, why would I not use Calvin Megatron Johnson and Terrell Owens? Those 2 guys with Dan Marino and Walter Payton and Gronk, I'd have the tallest receiver. I would win the Hail Mary. Even if we were losing, I'd be able to throw a Hail Mary up to Calvin Johnson, Terrell Owens, and Gronk. With Dan Marino's cannon for an arm. I'm just we all have an opinion.
It's almost a front line you got at receivers and tight end. You almost got a front line on the NBA with those guys with the size that they have. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. I didn't look at it that way, but that's kind of crazy.
The crazy part about and look, I love Jerry Rice. I think Jerry Rice is the best receiver in football ever. Mm-hmm. And I'd have to have a conversation with T.O. and make sure he wasn't going to be team obliterator T.O. The guy that's going to destroy the locker room T.O. But on this team, I think with Walter Payton, Megatron, and not to mention Calvin Johnson and Terrell Owens, they can run too. They're not just big receivers. They're big receivers that can run. They were deep threats. They were possession receivers. And I don't know. Who are you going to double team? You got to double team Megatron in that situation, right? So you're going to give me T.O. and man-to-man coverage? Are you out of your mind? I got Gronk matched up versus a linebacker. I win. I win. Now, we all have opinions. I'm not saying that you guys are right or wrong, but I think mine's the answer. I really do. Marino, Walter Payton, Calvin Johnson, Terrell Owens, and give me Gronk. She got a Gronk. Let's debate. Whose lineup in the chat? Tell me whose lineup you like the best. Let's go through them real quick. I like Mo's better, just as good as mine. He's got Jerry Rice and Nuke. I love that. I think Gronk's better than Tony G, if I'm being completely honest. I wish he would just save the dollar and went with Gronk. But he's got Tony G, Jerry Rice, Nuke, Walter Payton, and Dan Marino. Dylan went with the winner route. He went with Joe Cool, the original Joe Cool. Joe Montana, LaDainian Tomlinson. I mean, you want to talk about Austin Eckler before Austin Eckler, the better version of, like, he bred Austin Eckler. Like, Austin Eckler's hero is LaDainian Tomlinson. Marshall Faulk, players like that. LaDainian Tomlinson caught the ball out of the backfield. He was unstoppable. And then, wide receiver-wise, he just goes at Jerry Rice. You had Jerry Rice, right?
No, I had Randy Moss.
Oh, yeah, Randy Moss. Electric receiver down the field. Julio Jones, am I correct?
Yes.
And then you went with Antonio Gates, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a solid group right there. Kyle with the worst lineup. I'm just kidding. Kyle went with Marino. Oh, no, sorry, Montana, Tomlinson,
T.O.
Jerry Rice.
I went T.O. Julio Gronk.
T.O. Julio Gronk. See, I like that a little better than Dylan's because the T.O. Julio 1-2, to me, I don't feel like I'm getting a drop off going from Randy Moss Julio, but I think the biggest jump is I think Gronk's a lot better than Antonio Gates. Like, if we're putting it down on paper, I think, like, if we were rating them all and giving them all Madden ratings, I think that Brady's the 99, of course. But what's Marino? A 95? We're losing 4 points at that point? We're not losing much.
It's crazy.
Cottrell, my man Cottrell's in the chat. Let me just see what Cottrell, what's your lineup? Give me your lineup. I always love his thought process on these lineups. And then Bino said, look at Bino's right here. He got Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, and Shay. That's a 4, 4, and 3. It's $11. So what you're essentially doing is you're using $4 on your quarterback. So I guess you got to go Marino with Walter Payton then, right? Am I wrong? Got to go Marino, Walter Payton there, right? I messed up again. Marino, LaDainian Tomlinson, Moss, Calvin Johnson, and Gronk. And I save $1. Look at this one. He goes Marino. He'll go with LaDainian Tomlinson. He gets Calvin Johnson and Moss on the outside and Gronk, and he saves $1. See, now, here's the problem with that, Dan. And I don't want to be rude. What you're essentially saying is you wouldn't trade Calvin Johnson or Randy Moss for Jerry Rice. And that's where I have a problem with this lineup. Don't disrespect Jerry Rice. Marino, LaDainian, here he goes. Marino, $1. LaDainian Tomlinson, $2. He drops a 5 bomb on Jerry Rice, so he's at 7. Megatron for 4, so he's at 11. And then he adds Gronk to make his $15. See, I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm not mad. If you go with Marino, it's almost a blueprint to setting you up for success because the value for Marino's insane.
I completely Mo. When you were reading your lineup, I'm like, God damn it. He goes Marino, Walter Payton. I'm like, son of a gun. I love it. Absolutely love it. I gotta resign re-sign someone. I love it. Get the comments out there. Jordan, what's your lineup? There's no Ravens on it. Is there a Raven on this list? I'm looking for Raven. No Ravens.
Well,
I need Jordan.
Shannon Sharp was a Raven late in his career.
Okay, so he'd obviously have to have Shay. Jordan, what's your lineup? I mean, he did say, well, hold on. He got Tom. There it is. Tom Brady, Shay. I knew it. Barry Sanders, T.O.
He's missing a wide receiver.
Oh, I see what he did. He just wanted to go one wide receiver.
Yeah.
One wide receiver set. Can't do that. I need 5 guys. So you can't have you at wide receiver too, brother.
Well, T.O. just gets double teamed, and that's the end of that.
I love the lineup. So what's it? Jake Kniper, Marino, Moss, Calvin, Tony Gonzalez, and LaDainian Tomlinson. I'm like reading it. I'm trying to read it in order, right? I'm trying to like, and we said Tony. I'm sitting there thinking, what running backs is Tony Dorsett's now on this damn list?
He shouldn't be.
Hold up. All right, guys. Any final comments on this build a line for $15?
Only that we need to do something like this again next week because this is awesome.
Yeah,
I imagine there's so many out there.
yeah, probably are.
Yeah, there's tons of them. We can do an NBA one next week. Build your starting five.
Could y'all put another lineup up there?
All right, Tom, LaDainian Tomlinson, Randy Moss. See, he went crazy. I can't go crazy. AB would ruin that team. He'd be playing for an incentive at the end of his contract and storm off the field. All right, so he went Marino, Sanders, Moss, Owens, Gronk. Marino, Barry Sanders, Moss. That's $7. That's $9. Owens, that's $12. And you see, you can't do math.
You kill it.
Got to be able to do math. Yeah, you went over, bro. You got to be able to do math. Don't take his damn comment down.
Yeah, he picked Moss and
You're not allowed on the show. You can't add $16.
Jordan,
Moss and Owens from the same line.
We just talked about devaluing the running back position. You don't give up 5 for Barry. You can do better.
Yo, I'll tell you right now, if I save $2 and get Walter Payton, that's the difference between – I mean, that's really the difference between DeAndre Hopkins and Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great – I love DeAndre Hopkins, but Terrell Owens better receiver. Larry Fitzgerald at $5, you're not surprised.
Yeah.
You can't – I can't believe he's $5. I think Larry Fitzgerald is the 5th best receiver on this graphic. Maybe 6th.
Sadly, he's a great receiver. I mean, great for his time, but yeah, definitely not better than any of these guys.
I like how they ranked the running backs, right? They went running back greatest of all time. They went Barry, Jim Brown, Walter Payton. That's the 3 that you'd argue, right? So this list did their own rankings, essentially. They did it with quarterbacks too, but look at the running backs. Do you guys agree with that 1, 2, 3? Is that your 1, 2, 3? I know it's not Mo's. Mo said before, I've listened to him. I love him. He said Walter Payton is his number 1 running back of all time.
He is. That's my guy.
What's your rankings for running backs, Dylan?
Man, I would probably have to agree with Bo and say Walter Payton's probably my number 1. I do like Barry Sanders a lot, and I get the Barry Sanders argument, but at the end of the day, he retired early. I mean, that's the big thing for people. But my big thing with Barry Sanders is when I think someone who's the greatest of all time, I think of a little bit outside of football as well too. And both these guys have a great case. What Barry Sanders was when it came to just like, just pop culture and different things like that. Barry Sanders was like one of the poster boys for when football was big back then. And I think him being on a lot of things, his just playing ability, just who he was, is like burned into my mind of just like early on trying to learn football. But what Walter Payton did as a player and then off the field is just so much. I mean, he has an award named after him, and I think that is a very big staple. But also, he's a really great running back. So I think it would go Payton, Sanders, and Brown.
Kyle, what's your rankings on the running backs?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go Payton, Sanders, then Brown, even though like I heard a lot about Jim Brown being like a beast back in the day. I saw some old like footage of him, but like Barry Sanders was when I was growing up watching football, like he was the guy I just had to watch.
See,
and that's probably why I'd have him over Brown. I mean, some probably could argue Brown was better than him, but yeah, I'd go Payton, Sanders, Brown out of those 3.
Chris West, my man. He went with Manning, Emmitt Smith, Randy Moss, Sharp, and Shannon Sharp, and Calvin Johnson. Did he even use all his money? That feels low. 7, 9, 11. Yeah, Calvin Johnson, he used all his money. I don't agree with that list. Chris, I love you, bro. I think that the 3 worst values on the whole board are Drew Brees, Emmitt Smith, and Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
I feel like for running backs, I would go Barry, Walter, Jim Brown in that order. I watched Barry play behind no line. Scott Mitchell was his quarterback. Like, it was terrible. I felt so bad for that man. We watched Thanksgiving, watch him cut up 12 guys behind no line every year. I couldn't do it. It's terrible. Last but not least on this, before we go to the next graphic, do you guys, this graphic is rating Drew Brees ahead of Dan Marino. I have told you already I disagree with that. I think Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback to never win one. I know Drew's won one.
Mhm.
I also think that if you put Dan Marino in the setup that these other four quarterbacks were in, he'd have at least one Super Bowl, at least one, probably multiple Super Bowls.
One or two, at least.
Yeah, I can
It
agree with
wouldn't
that.
like if you put him in the same situations, especially look, I'm a Niners fan. I'm a Joe fan. But if you put Dan Marino in that offense with what Bill Walsh did and have those weapons, at worst he's gonna win two. He might win four or more, if I'm being real.
I think that Dan Marino and Joe Montana are, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I just think that they are a product of circumstance.
Mhm.
And if you look at both those quarterbacks, this is nothing against Joe Montana. I just think Dan Marino threw the football. I think Dan Marino threw the football better than Peyton. I think he threw the football better than a lot of guys. I just think what ended up happening to him was he was playing on a bad Dolphins team. Clayton and Duper. So, like, you go through these guys, right?
Mhm.
And you go to Tom Brady, and he had Gronk and Randy Moss and Hernandez. You go to Joe Montana, he had Jerry Rice, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, and Reggie Wayne. Dan Marino had Mark Clayton and Duper. This is what we're doing? It's not the same. We are not the same. But just a thought process. I just think the biggest gap in money is and I love Antonio Gates, but the difference between Gates and Gronk doesn't feel like it should be $1. Feels like it should be a bigger gap.
Yeah. And to go, because Jordan did ask me before, because he said, like, I picked Montana over Brady, and the dollar was because I wanted to get Gronk over Antonio Gates.
I feel you.
Smart.
All right. Well, gentlemen, this is a good graphic. We'll get another one for next week. We'll do an NBA starting five.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right.
Looking forward to it. Next graphic. I love this one. Ready? Go ahead. Kyle, this is you, right?
No, this is Mel.
Oh, no, this is
me.
Mo money, Mo problems, Mo better.
All right, so of the big three sports, the majors, MLB, NFL, and NBA, which one is the greater spectator sport? And when I say that, I'm talking about you go there, the live venue, you get the whole experience. So we can go top to bottom, or I can go first, either way, but we can go top to bottom if you want.
You're the boss, Mo. This is your question.
Then I'll go first. For me, if you factor in the total experience, for me, it's the NFL. And I'm going to say the NFL because I've been to so many tailgate parties, which, again, to me, that's part of the experience. I'm talking about the whole experience, not just the game itself, but everything surrounding the game. And I've met some amazing people. Like I met a guy who had drove a bus for 30 years. And then I found out he was actually ex-military. So we got into a conversation about all the different bases we went to. There's a connection in football that's different. It hits different than basketball and baseball, in my opinion. There's just a connection. I think people, they flock together more. You can go to a tailgate, not have nothing, and you'll get fed. You'll get fed. I mean, that's the insane part. You will get fed if you bring nothing to the table, and that's crazy. I've done it not on purpose, but I've done it numerous times. There is just a camaraderie amongst football fans that's different to me than the other two major sports. And watching a live football game, hearing that crack when you've got good seats and somebody gets cracked and you can hear it, you almost feel it. It's almost indescribable. But watching football on TV, it doesn't do justice to watching football live, in my opinion.
What's the order, Mo?
Top to bottom.
Kyle.
All right. Yeah, I would agree that the NFL is probably the best one. I mean, using those three sports, because I probably, Gene, I would probably say grass ping pong has its good atmosphere. But I think the NFL is probably as close to that out of the three major sports. Because like you said, you get the tailgating. It just feels like it's like one big party outside before you even go in. I mean, baseball, it's probably a little bit better now with the rules and maybe more lively. But yeah, NFL is just constant action. Like you said, you hear a hit, it's just something, just does something to you. NBA, I've been to some NBA games where the arena's kind of quiet, unless there's one or two plays, maybe. Then everybody gets going. A lot of these NFL crowds, it's like from the minute of kickoff, there's just interaction and all that going on. So, yeah, I agree with you. I'd go NFL is the best one.
Jordan, shut up. When I went to the Ravens-Jets game week 1 last year, everyone showed Lamar Jackson some love. Baltimore has the most respect fan base outside of the AFC North division.
I mean, you knew he had to.
Why is he
throw that
commenting?
in.
Why is he commenting stuff like that? We're not saying which fan base is the best. We're just commenting which sports, and then he's like,
No, I
Ravens
said
talk.
shut up. I said shut up to him because he has to take it about Lamar Jackson love and Baltimore most respect fan. I don't know what he was trying to say with that last line. The most respected fan base inside the AFC North division. I don't know what he's trying to say outside the AFC North division.
I'm guessing like out of the AFC North division. They
I got it.
That's what I'm guessing.
Okay,
I'm up. I'm up. I'm about to say some blasphemous shit, y'all. I am about to say some blasphemous shit. Just being honest. All right, so I think the worst experience live of the three of them is football. And I don't think it's close. You can give me free tickets to a football game and I wouldn't go. Free. 50-yard line, no money. I'll tell you why. This is why I'm going to say this blasphemous stuff, right? So, number one, football in Philadelphia is played in cold temperatures. It's 30, 40 degrees. I don't want to stand outside in 30 or 40 degrees. I don't want to do that. Number one. Number two, the experience at the stadium. Guys, I've been very vocal. I love Philadelphia. I love how passionate our fans are. I hate how drunk they get at the game. And I hate how stupid it is listening to guys that have no idea what they're talking about and what they're watching say things. I can't take it. Football fans drive me absolutely nuts at a football game. He sucks. Why does Darius Slay suck? They're running a cover two. His responsibility is the flat. Like, he didn't get beat over top. The safety didn't get over in time. And, like, I'm watching that, and I'm just like, I hate listening to you. So I'm sitting in the cold around a bunch of drunk idiots watching football when it's designed. Football is a television sport. That's what it is. I need instant replay. I don't know if the toes got in. How do you know if the ball came out? I don't know. I'm such a student of the game of football that I want to be able to watch it on TV. I want instant replay. I want to be able to see different angles. And I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy being bundled up, watching 30-degree weather, watching football around drunk idiots that have no idea what they're talking about. That's the worst for me. Basketball is second. I like watching basketball live. I think basketball live is better than it is on TV. So that it gets a win there for me. But the sport that is way better live than it is on TV is baseball. I struggle. I love baseball. Love the game of baseball. Non-playoff baseball, I'm talking about game 114. Mm-hmm. I struggle to watch a full baseball game on my TV without flipping the channel. It's just slow. But when you're at the ballpark and you're sitting there with a pack of Cracker Jacks and a hot dog and you're sitting relaxing out in 70-degree weather, like, that's my idea of watching a sporting event. Baseball is the best live sport. I think football is the worst. I really do. I hate it. I can't stand it. And in baseball, you have a lot of people getting up, walking around. They walk around the ballpark. You're not normally sitting like wall to wall packed, like, I'm a bigger guy, right? Like, if I got a little space, it's enjoyable for me. In football, everyone's standing the whole goddamn game. They're on their feet. They're standing in front of me, which means I got to stand the whole game. Eagles fans don't sit down, Kyle. I don't know if you know this. Like, if you go to an Eagles game, the chairs are just there for show. Like, they don't sit down. Watch an Eagles game. When you see they don't sit down. I went to the NFC Championship game when the Eagles beat the Falcons to go to the Super Bowl. You would think that would be one of the greatest experiences ever. I stood 100% of the time in 30-degree weather. I loved the Eagles won. It was fun. It was an experience I won't ever lose. But if I'm being honest, I'd enjoyed it a lot more with 4 of my buddies and a hot pizza and a cold beer on my couch. Watch an instant replay. I would have enjoyed it more. Get my dad next to me. Let's watch the game together, Pop. That is my experience and just my opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. Dylan?
I really do like your takes. I'm going to agree with the other two, though, and I'm going to go football. And then maybe that's just because that's the first sport, like, I personally, like, fell in love with the first sport I enjoyed. And I get your takes. Man, football goes a lot deeper than just being the NFL itself. It goes from college sports, being there and watching those, and then even down to like high school sports. Like, seems like there's always just like an energetic moment when it comes to cheering for your team. And, not a big Kansas City Chiefs fan, probably won't ever be, but I've been to Arrowhead multiple times. That's just because where I lived at. And the atmosphere there is wild. I've been to NBA games and I've also been to MLB games. And I don't think I felt an atmosphere of like how I felt at a football game, just big hits going on. Like what Kyle said, as soon as someone gets hit, you hear the whole crowd cheering. You have your special little sayings on third down, the whole crowd shouting it. I've went multiple times as a Seahawks fan, and just even finding so many people who are just the same fan as you, just being so nice and cordial. And it's probably that way for a lot of sports games, but I don't know. It's just a different atmosphere when it comes to football. Number 2, it would probably be baseball for me. A lot of the reasons what Gene said, baseball's so it's rough to watch baseball on TV. I struggle to watch baseball on TV. I try to do it just to get more knowledge, to learn more players, but I struggle sometimes. Seeing it in person is so different. Now, of course, you have the times where you can have slow games and different things like that. But overall, it's just a great atmosphere. Just even running around when you were younger at like your brother or cousin's baseball games, like just a good atmosphere, doing different things like that. And then last for me is basketball. I like watching basketball on TV, but I kind of get the same feeling as what I do when I watched it live. I've watched the Bulls play twice, and as fun as it is, sitting really far back in those stadium seats, like I can't really enjoy the game as much as I would like. Like I can't see the players as close as I would like. I'm staring at the jumbotron half the time. Unless you're sitting courtside next to the players, kind of close to everybody, it doesn't seem super enjoyable to me. At least with like football and different things like that, it kind of the same atmosphere, but I don't know. There's more to it. So yeah, those are my 3.
Most points well received, though, right? Like Mo almost had me teetering when he started talking about the tailgate, because he's right. I love the tailgate, right? I've been to several tailgates where he's right. You don't have to show up with food or beer. You can eat and drink. You can be a freeloader and no one cares. They bring so much stuff there. Philadelphia Eagles games, you could walk by a tailgate and they're like, you want something to eat? Like, they don't care. They don't care who you are. Hey, here's some food. You want a beer?
The guy I was telling you about, Gene, the bus driver, his wife had made homemade mac and cheese. If you've ever had homemade, I'm talking about the Southern homemade mac and cheese.
You can say it. You can say it, Mo. Black people mac and cheese is a lot better than white people mac and cheese.
I wasn't.
You can say it. Like, we're not gonna lie. Let's not lie. All right.
The point is,
that's what he was getting at.
I ate the mac and cheese and I ate brats with that guy for like 2 or 3 hours. We had the best time. Her mac and cheese was so on point. It was amazing.
I completely agree with you. Trust me when I tell you this. I learned how to make baked mac and cheese very early in my life, seasoned properly. I'm not talking about that easy mac stuff. I'm a lobster mac and cheese guy. I cook lobster mac and cheese. I'll tell you right now, you come to my house for any football, I'm gonna make a baked lobster mac and cheese, seasoned perfectly. You're gonna enjoy it with whatever you want. Got the Blackstone grill right outside, so I can cook up some burgers and dogs, and it's right back. I can see the TV while I'm cooking them. And Kevin's saying you're welcome, right? And the reason he's saying you're welcome is because he's one of the people that helped me with the recipe when I first started making it. But yeah, I mean, it's 100%. that almost sells me on it, right? Because the tailgate experience is great. I've done wire to wire at a tailgate. I've been there. I've done radio at a tailgate. It's fun. The tailgate part's way more fun at football. It's just I want to just drive home at like 12:30 and like get home by kickoff and watch it in front of my TV. Just the way I feel. But
it's just a good little social gathering even before the event. You get to eat some good food, meet some good people, talk about football. Go
just
home.
Don't wear a damn Cowboys jersey.
Yeah, don't wear.
I've seen some really bad things at Eagles tailgates when people wearing Cowboys jersey. The Cowboy is not a joke, right? I was doing a tailgate one year, and Howard Eskin. I don't know if you guys know who Howard Eskin is, but he used to be a Cowboys fan. He used to be booed on Philadelphia radio. He's one of the biggest personalities on Philadelphia, and a lot of people think it was fake. He was doing it to play the villain role to get people to hate him. So there was a Cowboys fan that was at the radio, like at Radio Row, watching like the Eagles show before the game. Well, he went to the bathroom in the porta potty, and a bunch of Eagles fans tipped the whole porta potty over on him, locked him in the damn porta potty. I'm telling you right now, I don't know why Eagles fans are like this. I feel like that you can be an Eagles fan and not like be a jerk. You don't have to tip over or throw a beer at somebody or do anything like that. But I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you're a fan of the Cowboys and you go to Lincoln Financial Field, I would just be respectful of the place that you're at. Last story, and then we can move on. But do you guys remember the game where T.O. broke his ankle versus the Cowboys? Roy Williams pulled him down by the horse collar. It's probably the reason that they have the horse collar penalty. And he broke his ankle. Well, I was at that game. And a Cowboys fan turned not to this. When T.O. got hurt and he's laying on the ground and Roy Williams pulled him down by the horse collar, he was wearing a Roy Williams Cowboys jersey and turned his back to the field and his face towards the fans and started flaunting his jersey and laughing that one of our players was on the field hurt. An Eagles fan grabbed him by his horse collar, pulled him down a flight, like not a flight, but like a row of steps, and kicked his ass. I don't condone that type of behavior, but you're flaunting when one of our players is laying on the ground. That's not behavior we like.
I can do it. Talk shit, get hit.
I mean, I get it. I'm just saying in my head, like it's probably not the best arena in the world to wear somebody else's jersey.
Yeah, but I imagine if it is a different situation where he was like, man, that's rough. Like, I apologize. Not even necessarily took off the jersey, but was just like, oof, like, you know.
Damn, I never
got punched.
You never want to see someone get hurt.
Yeah,
like I'm a Cowboys fan, but you never want to see someone get hurt. Like if he handled that way, no one bothers him. No one bothers him the whole game. When one of our players is laying down hurt and he's doing this to the crowd, like I don't know. You kind of get what you ask for. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to the last question of the night. This is the one of the funnest questions. It takes a little bit of time. That's why we gave it the most breakdown. Kyle, read it out.
All right, so for this one, it's just very simple. Like, what is on your sports bucket list? You don't have to limit it to one. You can go 3, whatever, but just, not too many. So, like, what are the events or just whatever that you just feel like, course of your life, you would just love to be at that sporting event?
First of all, before you go, I need to give a shout out because I just got to go to a baseball game with one of my best friends for like the last 20 years, maybe even longer, my buddy Nick. And shout out to Nico if you're listening, brother. Nick's son, that kid has got a swing to him. He is going to be a ball player. We the Philadelphia Phillies have like a little bit of a wiffle ball field. This kid's got a swing on him. There's video of him. If you want to scout him early, you can scout him. But shout out to Nick and Nico if you're listening. They're avid listeners to the show. So I wanted to give them a shout out when we're talking about bucket lists. But my apologies, Kyle.
No, you good. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start and we'll just go down from there. So for me, I would say, once again, to bring up grass ping pong, but I would love to see a World Cup final. I feel like that would be incredible to see. Hopefully would be some bigger names in there, but that would be one for me. Two would be probably to go to a Super Bowl game. Obviously with my Patriots, but that's probably two for me. And I'll stop at three. So the third one would be I would love to go to an Olympics. Hopefully in a great city.
Mine.
Huh?
No, you just took mine, but that's a good one. Great.
So those are the three for me.
I love it. What's the order?
We go down from, so I guess you, Gene, and Dylan, and Mo.
All right. So, let me take the obvious ones off the table. Right? If I could see the Eagles in the Super Bowl at a Super Bowl game, I'm not rich. It's a very expensive thing to do, but of course I want to see the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I'll even go to the game to watch the Eagles at the Super Bowl. So, but that's an obvious one, right? I look at things that are very attainable for me to do in life, things that I could afford, and it would not be hard for me to do these things. They're still on my bucket list, but I feel like they're attainable, right? So one of the things I told you, I like baseball, right? There's two different stadiums that you have to see as a baseball fan. You have to. I want to go to Fenway Park, and I want to sit on top of the Green Monster. I want to sit front row on top of the Green Monster. I want to watch the game in a bird's eye view from on top of the Green Monster. It doesn't even have to be a crazy game. I mean, obviously, if I'm picking ideally, give me Yankees Red Sox, right? Give me that rivalry. I love the hatred. I'll take Yankees Red Sox. Give me an ALCS on top of the Green Monster. It would be incredible to watch. I'd have no dog in the fight. I would not be able to. Now, an afternoon game at Wrigley Field, it's got to tie with it, right? It's got to tie with Wrigley Field. I don't even want to watch a night game at Wrigley. It's not worth it. I want to watch a 1:35 start. Wrigley Field. I want to be in the outfield, right above the ivy, enjoying a ball game at Wrigley Park.
Okay. Would it be Cubs Cardinals, or does it matter teams?
It doesn't matter. Afternoon game at Wrigley. Cubs Cardinals would be fun, but I would prefer Cubs White Sox.
Okay.
The intercity rivalry. All right, so one of the ones I have to mention up is the Rose Bowl. I don't know how much you guys watch college football.
Love it.
But the Rose Bowl happens at the perfect time. It's 6 p.m. on New Year's Day in the Eastern. So it's 3 p.m. on the West. The sun sets during the game. It starts sunshine and it ends. You can see the orange sky in the kickoff. Give me a Rose Bowl. I would want to watch the Rose Bowl. I'd watch that football game live. And that's such a beautiful stadium. I think it's one of the best venues in the world to watch a sporting event. So, and then the last one I got to go with my football one. I don't like cold weather. I don't like football games normally live, but there's a venue that I feel like you just have to see in person. And I want to go to a snow game. I'm going to add snow into it. I want to go to a snow game at Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra. And I want to sit in the end zone, right? Let me sit in the end zone and watch those guys do the Lambeau leap into the end. I want to be a part of that. That is, to me, one of the coolest things to be able to watch, is being able to watch a Lambeau leap in the end zone. Dylan?
Okay, so I'm going to start off with my first one. This is a minor basketball one, just because I'm a basketball fan, but this one would be a lot nice to see. Let's give Seattle an NBA team. Let's give Seattle an NBA team. That's something on my bucket list. Something that everyone's been asking for. It's obviously a thing that's going to happen fairly soon enough, but to give Seattle an NBA team again would be nice. I mean, obviously the fans and different things like that would be really nice. I would be a Seattle fan once they get an NBA team as well too. It would be really nice. Another minor one that I have is give Sean Taylor a new statue. Please, Washington, please, new Washington owners, give Sean Taylor a new statue. What Dan Snyder did to commemorate him was very disrespectful. He's probably my favorite player of all time outside of Cam Chancellor. Please give that man a new statue. He meant a lot for the team. I think it was very disrespectful what they did to him. Some bigger ones, I would love to be in an NCAA committee room, rather it be selection Sunday for football or basketball. I just want to see what goes on their heads and their minds when it comes to picking these teams. What really goes on when it comes to being like, okay, this is our field of 68. Well, how are we selecting it? What's going down? Different things like that. I would love that. And then my biggest one is it'd be hard to do this, but I'd love to just see all the games in March Madness. I know a lot of games go on at once and you can't do that. Just love to be in the stadium when a team gets a big upset buzzer beater. That would be crazy. Like, especially if it was like your favorite school or something like that. That would be absolutely wild. Seeing the fans run on the court, seeing everyone go crazy. It'd be a big moment, especially if it was in like a national championship game.
You just mic dropped it for me. Final Four. You know, we watch both those games back to back and sit in that stadium. Listen, I'm a Villanova basketball fan. Could you imagine watching that Villanova UNC game where Chris Jenkins hit that was incredible. Oh man, Dylan, that was a great one. That was a great one. Mo?
Yeah, I love March Madness. It's a dream of mine.
I would love to get together with like a group of people from Sports Empire Network and like have like a summit, right? Like once a year where we all go somewhere. And it could be March Madness, right? It could be opening weekend of March Madness. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're all watching basketball and enjoying food and having like like I would enjoy that so much. Mo?
I think for me, I've experienced postseason baseball on TV. I love postseason baseball. I don't watch regular season baseball nearly as much, but the postseason, there's just a different intensity, a different vibe. On my bucket list, I want to see a Game 7 World Series game. That's what I want to see. And I want it to have that same intensity it had when Kirk Gibson, limping on one leg, cracks that ball out the park. I want to be there for that kind of moment so I can jump up and get in somebody's face and shout and yell and scream and embrace all of that. I want to talk trash because that's my squad. I want to feel something like that. And another one, I'd love to sit and be live at a USC Notre Dame football game. I'd love to see that.
That's great. That's great. Listen, so you're talking about a Game 7 of the World Series, playoff baseball. I'll tell you this, right? There's 2 times in my sports life that my anxiety levels at the highest it could be. It's playoff hockey and playoff baseball, because one pitch, one goal, one play can change the entire game. Like in football, like you're watching a drive, right? Like, yeah, turnover can happen, but you don't know when they're happening. The anxiety of watching a playoff baseball game when it's a 1-run game and a guy can just hit a solo home run or a 2-run home run and take the lead, man, that's got to be something that one of the most anxiety. You ever see a hockey game in overtime and you're watching your team play in hockey in overtime? Like, you have to think about like the next goal wins, everything sudden death. Like if a guy misses a shot or misses a puck or a puck gets turned over, the anxiety of watching those games is just like, it's on another level.
So
and
that's sorry. I was going to say that's a really good point, because I've started watching hockey a lot now. Seattle has a team. I've been watching them a lot, and this year they made a playoff run, and I watched like every game. And like those close games, I'm like, I've never like really liked watching this sport before. I love this. Like I'm like on my seat. Like every time they're by the goal, I'm like, come on. Like I'm cheering it on. Every big hit is amazing. Yeah, what Frankie says. Yeah, it's really good so far. I would love to go see a game.
Winter Classic on a bucket list. That's a very good one. Marlon Bradley. I mean, Marlon, I get it, bro, and I understand. I think they're everyone's bucket list. I think that's correct, right? Super Bowl, Stanley Cup playoffs, World Series. I just wanted to try to give like a little bit of a unique spin on different things, right?
Yeah.
Like I can afford to go to an afternoon game in Wrigley Field. Probably cost you $34 right now. Just walk right in, sit on the bleachers, and just watch a game at Wrigley. I can afford to go to a Fenway Park game, and I don't actually think that Kyle can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think the tickets on top of the Monster cost that much. I don't think that some people are scared.
Yeah, I don't think they're crazy expensive. I mean, fortunately, I left Boston, I think, before they put those seats up there. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like that would have to be one of the best places to watch a game.
I don't have a fear of heights, right? Like I'm not worried about like falling off the Monster. But I know a lot of people don't buy those tickets sometimes because they're worried about like falling off the Monster, even though no one's ever done it.
Right.
But I love watching Boston baseball games and watching games at Fenway. Like I've never been to Fenway, but like watching them on TV because of the dimensions of the park.
Yeah.
Jordan went with the Lakers playoff game, World Cup, Super Bowl. Okay. Kevin David went with Sixers games when AI went to the finals were electric. NBA finals was amazing before. Frankie James, my guy. Let's connect soon. I'm down, brother. There are more. I want to visit like every baseball stadium. Kraken were an unbelievable team. 47 plus 47 wins, jumped 18 spots in the rankings, and possible coach of the year. Kraken were awesome to watch this year. What a turnaround for year one. He ain't talking to you, Jordan. No one's talking to you. He might have actually been talking to Jordan. I'm just kidding. I just felt like it was to me because I was talking.
I like the Frankie went the world, the Winter Classic, because I could imagine like watching Bruins Winter Classic at Fenway Park like that, just bringing those two worlds together. That has to be a great scene.
He replied to Jordan's comment. I just noticed that, like looking at it on my phone. So he wasn't talking to me. Frankie, I thought you were talking to me. Damn it. Gentlemen, any final thoughts before we wrap up for this evening? You know what I love about Cheap Seats Podcast? I'll give you a final thought. I love that we have the ability to go from 6:30 to 8 if the conversation takes us there, but it's not a set. We can enjoy a conversation and go to 7:45, 7:38 and be able to have a good conversation. I appreciate every single person downloading us on Spotify through Sports Empire Network, making Cheap Seats the #1 show right now on Sports Empire Network, downloads wise. I'd appreciate it if you guys can give us a download on last week's episode on Spotify and give us a share on Facebook because we really want to continue to hold that spot with the crew that we have here tonight. And I'm not trying to listen. These guys know their stuff. It's incredible to be able to share the air with the three guys I get to share the air with. I appreciate you too, Frankie. He said, love the content. Reach out to me. He said, Frankie says in sports media in PA. So yeah, we definitely need to talk, Frank. We definitely need to talk. But really appreciate getting to do this with you guys each week. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
I mean, no. One thing I did forget is I would love to see a big like UFC or boxing card at MSG. That is one more thing on my bucket list. I'd love to see that. But overall,
I went to one UFC match before I went to a fight night. It was Justin Gaethje versus Edson Barbosa. I don't know if you remember that fight night, but they were like even money fighters. Like Justin Gaethje was still on the come up, and Justin Gaethje beat the crap out of him. It was so bad, but it was a great card. A lot of fun. It's the only UFC fight I've been to.
I'd love to. That's one thing on my bucket list. I'd love to see one of those.
I don't want to see a boxing match though. I've given up on boxing.
It would depend. I would like to see like two like big name stars that I know like would show out. Like one that I'd be like, if I was keeping up with these guys, I'm not super big into boxing either. But I would like to see like a big one. Like, I imagine seeing Mike Tyson back then was electric.
I think promoters ruined boxing, and I think what they did.
Agreed.
I think boxing used to be one of the best sports in the entire world. And there's still good boxers. There's still good fights that happen. But like we just watched Spence Crawford, and Crawford destroyed him. I have no problem with that. Like if I watch someone that's just incredible at their craft, well, my problem is that was the biggest fight that happened in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't happen. We should be having fights like this happen often. We should be able to get 2 good fights in a night on a pay-per-view card. I shouldn't have to watch 6-4 versus 8-1 on the undercard. Shouldn't have to see it.
Exactly. It sucks that it's a 4-fight main card, and literally like maybe 2 of those fights could be good, but mainly it's usually just the main event.
With the UFC, I could watch 5 good fights.
You could watch it from top to bottom. You could see someone get spinning head kicked in the first fight of the night.
It's funny. I watched the prelims. They're good. One of the best knockouts of the night was, I forget the guy's name, but he had ridiculous head kick to knocked the guy out in the second round. Spanish guy. I forget his name. You're going to help me, Dylan. Come on.
Spanish guy.
It was in the prelims, but it's all right. But my point being is there's like 9 fights on the UFC that you could watch. Like even the prelims, watching Miranda Maverick dominate. Like I love watching that girl fight. She was the first fight of the night. But any final thoughts, Kyle, Mo?
I think you said
enjoyed
perfectly.
the show, guys. Had a blast.
It's always fun. Always fun. Well, 7:42, hour and 12 minutes. In about an hour and 18 minutes, we got Big Tom coming up. He is doing his show tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Big Tom will be on talking your Cowboys, talking your Lakers. So if you're a Cowboys fan or a hater, go in the comments and make fun of him. If you're a hater, it's okay. He invites it. And listen, if you're laying down, going to bed, he's got the nice music that will have you relax. You can listen to the podcast, listen to the sounds of Big Tom on Sports Empire Network. Appreciate everybody hopping in the chat tonight. Jordan, Kevin, Marlon, Key. There was a million people in the chat tonight. I appreciate you guys. Frankie James, appreciate you. This is the Cheap Seats Podcast. I'm Wire to Wire Gene. That's the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. That's Mo Money, Mo Better, Mo Problems. And then Dylan, I got to get a nickname for him, Reed. D. Reed. We are signing out.
Have a nice night, everybody.
Good night.